On a dusty garage floor, the 82 FLHT size. Chrome's gone quiet, but the spirit river never dies. From the chain maze to a fresh ring ride, we will move ahead to find the next surprise. On Josephine.
Hello, my name's Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're working away on Josephine and we're trying to get the brakes set up on it, and as you've seen the other day we've rebuilt the front ones and got them on. We're still fooling with the back one because we got to paint it, but I'm trying to get my front brake lines figured out up in here. Now, to put something up in here, I have this Russell wide glide kit, and although it's not made for the FLT, it'll work for our application. We have to just make a custom mount to go up in there. Now we're trying to make it fit right up in this area in here, and it's got to go up to the bottom of the tree, which there's no holes like there is on a wide glide or anything. And the original type of unit was this sort of unit that hung down below, and because we're going to put our new one up in there, we need a bracket. So I've made a small bracket that will hang down in here and go up through. In order to even get at the bolt, we've had to remove this casing which goes in the back in there. Otherwise you can't get your hands in there to work on anything. So it's just as easy to take a moment, remove those pieces so that you can get at what you got to in there. So we're going to attach this to our unit, and I'm just going to take a minute and go in and put it in the vise where I can crank it up tight, and then I'll come back. So we've got our little bracket on here, and this is going to enable it to hang down, and we got clearance for everything. You have to make sure that your lines aren't rubbing or compressed up in there. And we're going to try and slip it back in there. There we go. Snug these back up. So it wasn't the easiest thing to get in, but we are tucked up in here now. For some reason the bracket just looks a little wonky there for some reason. I don't know whether the hole, exactly what has happened there. But it's tucked up in there now, and we can hook our brake lines to it. But okay, we'll dick with that a little bit and we'll get it where we want. So now we've got that for our lines. Clearing the other one there. All right. Another step in there, so now we can take some measurements from here down to our brakes and get the appropriate lines that we need for in here with a little bit of play. So now you can see how the brake lines are positioned. This one's going up to the top here, and the other two going down on each side of the fender. They're out by the fork legs, so there'll be no interference with the fender moving up and down. It makes for a nice clean setup, and we'll have Russell brake lines all the way through for years of trouble-free driving. So we're trying to get all our brake things in place, and they're down, tucked away in behind on some of these FLTs, as with many things they are. So we've cleaned everything out, and while we can get at it, we're going to take and sandpaper all of our connection points. And the reason I'm doing the brake tee here is because this ground cable is actually hooked down to where the brake tee goes on. And grounds can always be a problem. So it only takes a few minutes to run some sandpaper over them. Make sure you got a nice clean surface there, because this has to go down onto this when it goes in. I'm going to stick that in, and this little spacer goes down below it. So we're going to try to see if I can wiggle this back into place first. That back in there. And what I'm seeing now is that it's fitting down tight into there, but because it's so tight, we cannot get the fittings on. When we go to put our brake line in there, we're not going to be able to, because they're going to hit, and it's back in here. And if you can see, these small edges, these fittings, our brake lines have to screw onto that. So I'm going to have to get a little bit longer bolt, and what we're going to have to do is just lift this up about like that so that our brake lines can screw on there. So that's what we'll have to do. So as you can see, we've added the spacer on in here now, and we've got our lines hooked up. And with the spacer on, we had to do that to lift this up far enough for the brake line to go on. Now we can screw our brake lines on, and they won't interfere with the frame here. We've also put the bolt up from the bottom so that it's not dragging down below. So we'll use this to run it up front, the other one will go up to the back. But as you can see, it's a nice clean setup in there, and it's tucked away. So that'll keep anything from rattling around with the brake lines. So it's tucked in there, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. And it looks good. So now we're going to work at disassembling some of this. We're going to take the primary off. I want to take it off and clean it all up. And I just as soon put the motor in, then put the primary on in this case. And it's going to be quite a job to get the primary off with all the boots and everything else. And we also want to replace the oil lines here. So we've loosened up our oil tank, but we can't get at the oil lines into the top of the filter and such, as they're in behind the starter assembly and that. So I'm just looking over the situation, and I'm seeing where my grounds are running to my starter here, and I'm examining those kind of things. The old boot, this here where the wiring is going here from the boot back through, and we're going to be using that wiring, so we need to pay attention as to where it is and where it's going. And the small wire here is the important one. Everything's pretty cruddy in here. We're going to replace the electrics on it. We're going to put a new solenoid on it, a new Bendix drive, and we'll probably have a look at our starter while we're at it, just to make sure. These components all need to work good because the bike is pure electric start. So we want to make sure that all of those things are in tip-top shape. And we have no idea whatsoever as to the condition or what it was. I think I'll put the nut right back on that so I know where it is. Funny how things can come loose there, and you're right here, and it didn't go anywhere, and it didn't fall on the floor because you would have heard it. I know that this one goes to the top, so I'm going to put a little tie wrap in there. There's a lot of electric on these and things that are connected, so you have to keep them in place. And I don't want to second guess myself afterwards, you know. A couple of weeks down the road, or a week or two down the road, when you're going to put it all back together, you're going to say, like, where did that go? Well, where did that go? This is where this little extension comes in handy because it's skinny. And sometimes when you got to get in around things, using the full extension won't fit. But this will be here, this piece for our exhaust mount for the plate. And we'll inspect our boot and such in there, but we're going to run the belt drive. So the boot is not that important in there, although it will help to keep any kind of dirt out or anything like that. Get the starter out. This is our support bracket, so we'll take that off, because we'll have to undo the screws to bring the starter out. Spacer in behind, fell down. Obviously a spacer in behind that bracket. There's a lot of very unique parts on this. And the stud is coming out with that one, which we really didn't want to happen. Get that off of there.
On a dusty garage floor, 82 FLHT. Chrome's gone quiet, but the spirit never died.
The end plate right off with it.
The wires, the old starter's dead.
And then we'll just slide this back in.
Those ghosts of red.
Let's keep the starter together. All right. Now we can see down in here where our oil lines are. So we need to disconnect that one in order to pull our oil tank out.
Make sure it's just right. Every bolt undone.
They've been on there forever. So we will cut the line. Sometimes if you try and twist and yank an oil line, it's been on there forever, it won't want to come off. Just gonna cut the rubber. It's just caught between the two fittings. There we go.
Years gone by, replace it with an O-ring chain, let the tension fly now. Primary belt awaits, a main drive reborn, a new Sprocket, let the new rhythm form. Handmade tool in hand, we coax each stubborn part. Each setback's a clue, a puzzle for the heart. Turn around.
These are ground straps again, down to this.
Reviving steel and pride from the chain oil maze to a fresh O-ring.
Keep those together. That one needs a new end on it. Just gonna wedge them together so I know where they're going. There.
On another story bright.
There we go, and there's a little O-ring there. Goes with the gear. The trick is going to be getting the boots off now. We have a bolt down underneath here that is one of the primary case bolts that has to come off. There are two bolts in underneath that we'll have to get at. And as you can see, there's a bolt back here and there's a bolt here. One there and one back there. And those are to get the primary case off. So those have to come out before we can disconnect the primary. We do the inside ones, but that one and that one there have to come out. And I'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that there was supposed to be a bolt in through that connecting to the primary as well. On some models they had them, so we'll double check it and see. So that's why I really took the starter off. So you are able to get through here with a long extension to get that inner bolt. You've got other things apart. It's just behind the oil filter there, you can see it. And there we go, we got it out. So we know those are disconnected now. So now what I'm going to have to do is go around, work on the other side of the primary. We've got to try and get the boots off it, which they have a special tool, I tell you, to get the boots off that I don't have. I figured that was going to be a job, so I'm going to go around and see what I can do to get them boots off so that I can then unbolt the primary and take it off. So if we look in the manual, this is what it shows you for the tool. It says rear chain housing remover, HD 97101-81, and I don't have one, of course. What I've done here is taken a long Allen wrench. It was one of these plastic handled ones, and I ground the plastic handle off it and welded a little socket to it here so that I can put this, or I can put a larger adapter in there if it's stuck, to see if I can reach in there and get it. Who knows if it's going to work, but I'm going to give it a try. And it just, you know, there's not enough room. You can't put a socket in there because the body of the socket is too big to get in around it. So I'm hoping that this will do it. So let's go see if we can get it out. So the bolt, the top bolt, is way up in there, and it's behind the frame here. And there are long screws in there. I know that from taking the first one out. I took the first one out with a little wrench like this. Something that was bent and hexed that I could get at the bottom one. So that was one in a row, but I certainly couldn't get at the rest. turning it. It was hard to get it in there because the bolt is full of dirt. Yeah, we're out. Bit of red Loctite in there. Something on that. It's on there with some kind of sealer. I can feel it breaking loose, but I can get my hands in there for this one, but I don't think I'm going to get it out for the other one. Oh. Damn! Turn the wrench, feel the grind. Smack my old head on there. Cut me right open. Yeah. I think I better take a minute and clean that up. So I got one off, but the bottom one, the screw is actually in behind the swing arm, and I don't want to have to take the rear end and the swing arm and everything off. So I've been able to dress the end of it up a little bit. I know you can't see it, but just put a slight little taper on the top of it on the very end to see if I can get it started in there, tap it in. Almost out. I'm almost out, but I'm so close to the swing arm that it just doesn't want to allow it to get in at an angle enough to get it out. Now I'm down to about an eighth of an inch of it to come out. There it is. She's out. Just have to break the seal loose. That's where I banged my head before. She's on there with some kind of goop, that's for sure. Get half it off. Okay, let's try it. Yeah, buddy. And just to point out something, that when we took this apart, you could see that this boot had been in like that, which would have allowed it to leak out through there. That was put in there that way. It was pressed in, and you know, it's not from getting it apart. That's where it was. So you see, the oil would have leaked out through there. Might have been another reason why they were thinking about tearing it apart at the time. But that boot gasket, the boot itself, is pretty well ruined. You know, it's not a gasket. It's actually part of the whole boot assembly here, which are almost impossible to get today. So they went obsolete long time ago. So another reason why it had to come apart, have those things changed on it. So I bought a brand new jack to slide underneath the bikes, and always nice to have another one, and this one's a little wider. But being as a high quality piece of equipment, look at the end of that shaft. That's so bent out of shape, it won't even go on it. You know, that's why they have stuff on sale, because it's factory seconds. Again, son of a bitch. I'll have to take it in there and try to beat the thing back into shape so that maybe it will work. God. So I've got that beat back into shape now, finally, and I've jacked it up. Take some pressure off of this. But this case doesn't want to come out. So you're going to tell me I'm going to have to jack the transmission up in order to get the case out of it. Seriously, because of the tab down in the bottom here. And I forgot how much fun these are. Here we go. All because of this tab on the back of it. You gotta get the transmission up so high in order to be able to get that tab out. Jeez Louise. I guess it's a good thing I took it off because the bearing fell out. The green Loctite's up in there. And that transmission is shot. So it's a good thing I took the cover off, but that is toast. Looks like the main bearing has worked its way right out of the case. Oh, my lord, my lord, my lord. We're really into a nightmare now. Bearing is ruined in that case. Just don't know till you get at it, do ya? So I guess that's about it for today for me. I banged my head, I got a headache. And this transmission is toasty O's. It's a good thing I took it off and didn't just take it for granted that it would be all right. I feel sorry for Carrie because we're into such a nightmare here now. Here's where we're at now. I'll have to get that seal out to have a look, but that is where we're at today. And with that, I'm gonna call it a day. So, we're back at it today. Got a little war wound there. Just a way to end my day off yesterday, but it wasn't exactly what I planned on, but it's the way it went. But where we find ourselves now is with the transmission. Now I've taken the primary off of it, which was quite a job as you've seen, because I wanted to make sure that everything was good in behind there. And when we went to look, the sprocket is not overly bad, but it is worn. I've seen a lot worse, but our issue has become this. It's not a good sign, but I'm hoping that I can't see in behind the seal, so I could see this part of it. So what we're gonna have to do is try to get that seal out. Now, I'm not quite sure exactly because I can't really drill into it to put my puller in there, because if I drill into it on the back side, you're going to drill right into the case. So actually this should come right out. There we go. Figure out a way to get that out. Might be able to drill a small hole into that, enough to get my puller started in it, so that I can get it out. So let's see what we can get geared up. So I've got my drill and I got a little long, fine drill there. And we're going to try and just put a hole into the steel part of that seal. Take my handy dandy puller, see if I can. In there a little ways now. Good sir. Nice rebob. That's not gonna hold. So I've kind of bent myself up a little extension to put on the end of this, and I'm hoping to go in there and hook onto the seal. This is just kind of a light spring steel, so I don't know if it's going to hold or not. I'm hoping, but if I find that it works, then I can try to fabricate myself up something with the, you know, a little more solid, enough to at least try to get that seal out. But I'm going to try it. Get it around here where I can get a good bite. Working it up into the top parts here. Looks there. I'm gonna have to try and make a piece that's a little more solid out of that. It's hard because you're putting so much pressure on a thrust on it this way. I'll have to see what I can come up with. So, got one made up out of 1/8" plate. It's got just a small lip on it, but I'm hoping I can get in there and get enough of a grab where it's bent up already here. Sir, it's not coming out. She just don't want to do it. She just won't break loose anywhere. There we go. Never say die. Just need a little more force on it, so that worked out for me. Now, wow. She's a mess in there. But what we got in there, all these bearings are gone. They've been ground right up to nothing, but the main race seems to be sitting there all right. Now, if it's just spun, if it's spun lightly, we can salvage it if we can put a bearing in there that's a decent size and green Loctite it in and lock it in is about the best that we can do with it. But in any case, the transmission is going to have to come apart now. That's a disaster. So, you know, it's full of it inside as well. Oh, Josephine. My Lord, girl. We got problems. So I guess the next thing to do is to open up the trap door, take the shift linkages off, pull the transmission out, and see what the state of that bearing is and where we're at. So if you enjoyed this video today, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, do those kind of things. It helps us to grow. You never know what you're into with these old machines, and you should never take anything for granted. And I'm glad I pulled that primary off to have a look. Something told me, you better look at it. You better look at it and see. And sure enough, we've run into a problem with it. So, you know, we'll fix it. We'll get things done. We'll get them the way they should be. And we keep moving along. So next thing to do is start rebuilding that transmission. So we'll have a look at that in the next week or so here. We've got a lot of other things to do, a lot of small pieces to do. I have to do the rear brake yet. So stay tuned for next week's video when we're going to update a lot of that stuff. By the way, if I haven't said it before, check out my brothers down south, Hippie's Chopper Corner and Slickhead's Custom Cycles. Check out those guys' sites and enjoy them. Hip's got some stuff on the go. He's got a raffle bike he's building and he's switching stuff around and it's never dull. I can't keep track of what he's doing. And Slick stays busy all the time and he's going to swap meets and stuff. So check those boys out and subscribe to their channels. We all try to help each other out. And it's all about being a unit, like the Three Musketeers here. So stay tuned for next week. We'll see you then.